And then just to make sure we got it, before Sidwell left, he thanked Marco yet again for everything. That all kind of felt like, once again, they're really kind of beating a big drum that something very well could happen to Marco. Good morning, everybody. Here to talk about yesterday's episode of General Hospital. There will probably be noises in the background, so apologies for that. The construction here will never end. But we will talk about yesterday's episode where I feel as though action is finally taking place. We seem to be building to at least someone getting shot, at the very least, if not winding up dead. There are a lot of different options, kind of a lot of things going on with the whole Sidwell and WSB thing going on, and a connection to Phazon, I think, too, seems to be going on. In yesterday's episode, Jason spent some time in storage getting his weapon, getting ready to be a hitman, and having a lot of flashbacks. He was flashing back to the time he had a talk with Tracy about Monica and how it took him so long to realize that she really loved him, and even Tracy loving him too. He had flashbacks to saying goodbye to Carly. I don't know if the flashbacks to Monica was him trying to remember his Quartermain self again, the really old Jason, even though he's been this kind of cold hitman Jason for so long now. But in the end, he did leave with his gun and get ready to kill Cullum, which we will circle back to. Sidwell is told that Britt is going to be here later for an injection, and that Lucas is still a problem. I believe this character's name is Pascal, who works for Sidwell, and Sidwell confronted this Pascal person about having a crush on Marco, and basically berated the guy for wanting to break up Marco and Lucas because of that crush and not really listening to his warning. Then Sidwell and his son Marco had some scenes where Sidwell was very thankful to Marco for staying on with him despite putting strains on his relationship to Lucas. Marco said something like he doesn't love what Sidwell does, but he does love Sidwell as a father. And then just to make sure we got it, before Sidwell left, he thanked Marco yet again for everything. And then, that all kind of felt like, once again, they're really kind of beating a big drum that something very well could happen to Marco. Even though Marco thinks his father will protect him, if it really comes down to it, we will see, I guess, just how cold Sidwell is, or if we have a Sidwell versus Cullum and the shady WSB. Maybe the villains will divide and go against each other when this story is said and done. I don't know. But Marco went through with his plan, looking at the safe, going through the safe to get some vials that has the medication that keeps Britt alive, and took some. They really should have come up with a plan to replace the vials with something, but that is not what they did. So Pascal went into the safe and found that 2 vials are missing and decided to call Cullum about it. And Cullum just caught Marco in the last episode going through the safe, seeming a little sketchy there. Lucas got a visit from Ava, and Ava just wanted to talk about a trap that Carly is setting. It really felt like they were just trying to keep an Ava and Carly rivalry alive. I don't love that Ava seems to be sidelined as a part-time character, just really a supporting cast right now. Her talk with Lucas really was not a big part of the episode whatsoever. It seemed like Ava was grasping at straws, thinking that Carly is trying to manipulate Lucas by getting close to Marco, in a way to eventually make Lucas choose between her and Marco. Ava's whole theory was just that Carly is trying to break Marco and Lucas up, and Ava doesn't want that for Lucas because she saw what a hard time Lucas had when his marriage to Brad crumbled. Lucas was saying that if that's Carly's intentions, he's not going to let it happen. And then just to beat that big drum again, that something might happen to Marco, if not Lucas, that Lucas was telling Ava he's never been happier than with Marco. It's not looking good for Marco out there. Sidwell and Ava then met up, and Ava was telling Sidwell kind of the same things she was telling Lucas about Carly manipulating Lucas, manipulating Marco, manipulating Sidwell. But Sidwell and Carly seemed to be planning some little event. So I guess once again, Sidwell not listening to warnings. At the beginning of the episode, Carly was flashing back to her arguments with Joss when Brennan came over. And this entire conversation between Carly and Brennan was really Carly giving little digs at Brennan that he's not telling her all of these truths. When he first arrived, Carly told him that she was hoping he was Joss because they had a big fight about Sonny, talking about how Joss was saying she wants everyone like Sonny brought to justice, and Carly asked him how someone like her daughter can bring someone to justice, kind of playing on the fact that she now knows Joss is in the WSB and working with Brennan, and Brennan's keeping that from her. So yeah, that entire time Carly kept putting things out there, basically hinting at the fact that she knows that Brennan is not being honest with her. Brennan was talking about how he knows he's a flawed man, but he loves her. She was trying to basically get him to prove his love in that conversation, even though she just slept with Valentine. But clearly, Carly's just using Brennan at this point. But that conversation did not end well for those two. And it made me think that it might be Brennan that is the one that ends up being shot at the end of this episode. Because, let's see, we have, first of all, Marco did bring the vials to Lucas, telling Lucas to get them to Britt because they don't have a lot of time before it's discovered that the vials are missing, which is why I said there should have been some kind of plan to put some extra vials in there to at least buy more time. Britt was in this episode. She got a visit from Jocelyn, who came through the window all dramatically. Josh was confronting Britt about Cullum being a double agent and how they're working on the same project. Honestly, not my favorite scenes between Britt and Joss. They were just doing a lot of bickering. It ended with Britt saying she won't blow Jocelyn's cover. And then Jason did, in fact, have his scope ready, getting ready to kill Cullum. But Brennan ended up joining Cullum. And so I am feeling like Brennan might be the one that ends up getting shot instead of Cullum. Unless they really do want to kill off one of their big bads right now, I would say Cullum is a bigger bad than Brennan. But I think there's probably more story if Cullum and Sidwell eventually have to go against each other, if Cullum wants Marco dead for stealing the vials and Britt going on the run. That can interest me if that's where they do end up going with that. But we'll see who Jason does end up shooting, if he makes a big mistake or not. Other things happening in yesterday's episode: Nathan brought Lulu breakfast after their night together, but instead they decided to go another round and then come back and eat breakfast together. Cullum ended up interrupting them before the end of the episode when Jason wanted to shoot Cullum. Cullum shook Nathan's hand. They were supposedly meeting for the first time, but I got the idea that might not be true. There's been a lot of speculation that this is not really Nathan. And there seemed to be a hint that Faison had 4 children when he really should only have 3. So now I think the speculation is that maybe Nathan well, this Nathan is not the real Nathan. It's Nathan's twin or something, or just another kid of Faison's. But the Lulu and Cullum scenes were awkward. They were supposed to be awkward. Lulu trying to avoid most of Cullum's questions and trying to avoid Cullum questioning Charlotte. And then the only other thing going on was Alexis and Tracy meeting, because Tracy wants to sort out the fact that Jason's leaving and Danny's going to have to stay with Alexis. Tracy thinks Danny should maybe be with his family, the Quartermains, which I think is where he's been a lot anyway. Alexis was taking her own shots at Tracy, saying that Tracy didn't even raise her own kids, the maids did. And Alexis saying that they need to accept Jason's wishes, which is for Danny to live with Alexis while he is gone. The other thing happening in those scenes was Olivia texting Tracy that she's going to call a family meeting. I don't know if that's because she ended up walking in on Michael and the hooker naked after having sex. If so, it seems like an extreme thing to do in calling a family meeting. But it does seem like Olivia is only on this show these days to kind of be annoying. But it was another fairly solid episode yesterday. We are getting some action. We're going to see what happens in this Friday episode that I won't review until tomorrow. See who Jason does end up shooting. If anyone. I mean, if they built it up all dramatically and Jason doesn't end up shooting anyone, I think that would be a big miss. Not only literally for Jason, but for the writing as well.